What if I told you war wasn't just about open fire on a battlefield and strategic planning behind the scenes? Obvious, right? In so many wars, there's nearly always another agenda: oil, money, and land, just to name a few. But what if that ulterior motive is never found? And what if I told you it's led to one of the biggest, most complex treasure hunts the world has ever seen? Let's get into it. While World War II raged on, Adolf Hitler knew he needed more than just bombs and an army to see his plans through. He needed gold. See, from the beginning of the war, Hitler was concerned about the United States joining the conflict. The country had a large arsenal of soldiers, tanks, missiles, and weapons, and compared to Germany and their allies, Hitler believed that if the US joined, he would lose. Knowing that he couldn't outmatch them in terms of warfare, Hitler hatched a plan. Between the First and Second World Wars, the American economy saw its most difficult periods. The stock market crash of 1929 added to an already problematic situation, which only became worse from there. Following the onset of the Great Depression, numerous nations experienced severe financial difficulties for the next 20 years. While the US economy was collapsing during the Great Depression, foreign war operations tried to devalue the US dollar. In order to prevent this, Franklin Roosevelt approved the Gold Reserve Act in 1934, which forbade individual ownership of gold. All of us are familiar with Fort Knox, the global center for currency. Although gold is incredibly expensive, the market will soar if there's a shortage. Gold won't be worth anything if too much enters the market all at once, because the market will fall. If too much is released onto the market, it can collapse. Hitler had gold, lots of it. So he planned to leverage this in order to make the markets collapse, seeing America go from a great nation to a poverty-stricken wasteland. Hitler knew that if the markets collapsed, regardless of politics and strategies, no more allies would join the effort. And more importantly, countries would begin to withdraw. He could win. Hitler recognized that America was on the lookout for impending danger and that he needed assistance. The United States was attempting to stay out of the war at this point. The Homeland Security System and other intelligence agencies in the US were excellent. Hitler was aware that he wouldn't be able to simply travel to North America, halt at a gold shop, and sell his gold for millions of dollars. No, instead, he hid the gold in secret locations around the country, ready for him to come and collect once he had lost on the battlefield. Only Hitler never came back for the gold. Whether you believe he died or fled to Argentina, the gold is still hidden today. This leads us to the biggest question. Where is Hitler's lost gold? Well, luckily for us, they left a map. The Loom Map is one of the most talked about maps in recent history, made by an unidentified Nazi supporter living in the United States. According to the legend of the map, when the Nazis hid the gold in America, they hid it at the supporter's home, burying over 100 tons of gold on the anonymous man's property and telling him to wait for their signal to retrieve it. With a plan in place to crash the market, the man waited and waited for the Nazis to return. With the anonymous man growing older and the end of the war coming no sooner, he decided to create an intricate map, the Loom Map, so that in the event of his death, his comrades would be able to collect their gold. However, when Nazi forces eventually did attempt to take back their gold, the man passed away, leaving the enigmatic Loom Map behind. Nazi forces searched the followers' house extensively for the gold, but were unsuccessful. They kept looking until Hitler ordered an end to the hunt and ordered them to return to Germany. After the Nazis had left, the American administration employed some of the most intelligent FBI and CIA officers to attempt to decipher the map. However, they were also unable to understand the strange map. The map was then leaked to the public by the government in an effort to decipher it. No one could figure it out. Codebreakers and professionals tried their hand with the map, but to no avail. In 1960, treasure hunter Carl von Mueller released the map, popularizing it amongst the general public. It is generally accepted that the bars that show at the bottom left of the page correspond to the actual bars. Many people believe that the bars are hidden inside some kind of pyramid, since a pyramid rests at the top of these bars. Some say that the map is missing a key, and the key lies on the dollar bill, right under George Washington's nose, and gives the treasure hunter the location of the gold as being buried under the left leg of the pyramid layout. But what pyramid and where? But despite this 60-year hunt for the gold, the hidden treasure remains to be found. But the loot treasure isn't the only lost treasure, courtesy of the Nazis. Around 600,000 works of art were taken by Adolf Hitler's Nazis during World War II from all around Europe. By the end of the war, the Nazis' looting had reached an industrial level, and billions of dollars worth of art had been dispersed and hidden across the globe. While some stolen works of art have been returned to their original owners, many remain unaccounted for. Notably, the Amber Room. The Amber Room was an elaborate collection of floor-to-ceiling wall panels created in the early 18th century and embellished with fossilized amber, semi-precious stones, and gold leaf. As a pledge of Prussia and Russia's collaboration against Sweden, Prussian King Frederick William I gave the panels each covering 180 square feet to Russian Emperor Peter the Great in 1716. The room, considered one of Russia's most priceless artifacts, was known as the Eighth Wonder of the World. Located in a room in the Catherine Palace, in the Russian town of Pushkin, when the Nazis launched Operation Barbarossa to invade the Soviet Union in 1941. The Nazis dismantled the room in just 36 hours, believing it to be German art that properly belonged to them, and moved it to a castle museum in Königsberg, Germany. For the next 2 years, it was on display at Königsberg, but as the war's tide shifted in the Allies' favor, Hitler ordered the transfer of the looted goods and culturally significant items from Königsberg to secure places farther inside German territory. The Royal Air Force brutally firebombed Königsberg in 1944, and the Red Army's oncoming artillery seriously damaged the city in 1945. Alexander Brusov, the leader of the Soviet team tasked with discovering lost arts, came to the conclusion that the Amber Room was probably destroyed in the ensuing destruction of the castle in declassified papers from Russian National Archives. In addition, according to his report, 3 of the 4 Florentine mosaics from the Amber Room were found to be damaged or burned in the castle's cellar. In spite of this, the Soviets kept searching the castle grounds thoroughly for the Amber Room. It has been hypothesized that this was a form of early Cold War propaganda to conceal their involvement in its destruction during the artillery bombardment, or that they were only looking into their own soldiers for its destruction. Despite this, a number of unreliable eyewitnesses asserted to have seen the Amber Room being loaded onto the Wilhelm Gustloff as it sailed from Gdynia in 1945. The Wilhelm Gustloff was later torpedoed and sunk by a Soviet submarine. But the wreckage has been explored numerous times, and no concrete proof that the Amber Room was ever on board has ever been found. Later that year, in 1997, pieces of the 4th Florentine mosaic from the Amber Room were found in the possession of a German soldier's son, who claimed to have taken them during the dismantling of the room, perhaps in 1941 or 1945. Although countless theories and unconfirmed sources announcing that they found the room, the bulk of the Amber Room and the millions of dollars worth of treasure that lay inside has never been found. So, if you have some spare days, weeks, or years to dedicate yourself going on a treasure hunt, well, happy digging.